Welcome to our training video on a judge's perspective. Before we get started, I want to encourage you, any competition that you are planning on attending, I highly suggest studying the score sheets prior to that competition, really educating yourself on what it is that the judges for that organization are looking for. You can most likely find these on any website of the competition, or they should be able to provide them to you ahead of time if you would ask. So I want to talk first about a few common categories you may see on a score sheet, first being execution. So you may be scored on the execution of your movement, execution of skills, how well synchronized your dancers are, the spacing on the floor, and then also the execution of your communication and or projection. Another element you may be scored on is choreography. So looking at the creativity and the musicality of the choreography. How is the routine staged? Is it interesting? Do you have complexity of movement? And are there difficulty of skills? Last but not least, a general category that most score sheets will have is overall impression. And this is where a judge can really give you their personal opinion of how they felt about the routine after it was completed. First up, we're going to look at a jazz routine. So looking here, we can see a nice strong beginning. The dancers are losing a little bit of their spacing as they're transitioning through the movement there. Okay, we see nice visuals with the level work, but again, dancers need to make sure they're watching their spacing as they're moving. And then this part I would like to see a lot bigger in terms of the movement. Really milk that movement there. I feel like that could be a lot bigger. Nice synchronization here. We want to make sure that we're holding the formation on that quadruple pirouette and having nice tight releves. On that kick, are we stacking the hips or are we staying level? More height there on the jump to increase the level and visual there. Nice dancing through the transitions. Want to make sure all the dancers are keeping their legs right out at 90 degrees and holding that formation. See interesting level work here. Again, watching the spacing. And where are the arms there on that back arabesque? Nice surprise element right there. Try to make sure we're not just walking from formation to formation. Lifts interesting in the back. Nice synchronization there, and accent. Wider and lower on all of those arm movements there at the end. Want to make sure the dancers are not looking tired, pressing the shoulders down. Again, holding that formation as they're moving. You can really see that from where the judges are sitting. Really hold that releve and forced arch there in that last triple coupe turn, especially at the end. Want to make sure you have a nice, solid ending. So some final thoughts as a judge, and if I was scoring that particular routine, I would take a look at the score sheet and I would look at taking away points on spacing, because that was one of the things I felt like I was commenting on a lot, were just the different issues with spacing throughout the routine. I would also look at some choreographical elements. So there was a lot of walking from formation to formation and not very many interesting formation changes. So I would definitely take some points off on there. In terms of execution of skills, there were some skills that were executed very well, but towards the end of the routine, you could tell that the dancers were getting tired. Some of the technique was suffering because of that. So there would definitely be some points there taken off with technique. There was some strong movements, some good musicality within the routine, but definitely looking at in terms of, is something new, is something different. It was a very plain routine, so I'm not sure it would necessarily score the highest marks for, that creativity category and maybe even overall impression. There were some great moments of synchronization, but nothing that was, breaking the mold or making me want to see the routine again. All right, and next up we're going to take a look at a POM routine to see some of the differences. So right away I see some angles off on diagonals and timing on that toe touch. We want to make sure the team is prepping together for their pirouette, so the rotations are together. On those chaînés, making sure the shoulders are square. We have some interesting partner work here. Okay, you can really tell the synchronization in terms of the arms here because the arms are white. I can really see that if it's off. The angles of that tilt jump, where are the shoulders, where are the hips facing? It's nice to see some clear moments of stoppage, and I feel like some of these movements are really frantic, so not necessarily seeing those clear pictures. Really want to make sure we're tucking that bottom leg, getting more height on the jump. You can see the spacing on our left here is a little wide in comparison to the right. Clear arm movements. What is happening with each motion? Okay, that's a fun section with lots of communication and projection. Making sure we're staying tight on that coupe turn, hitting that releve. Watching the ending of that double pirouette, so the shoulders are pushed down, passes are staying connected, arm angles are way off there. Nice transition there, but slightly off on the timing of that second leap. Really make sure we're getting low, not anticipating the music, even though this is so fast. Want to make sure we're not ahead of it. Making sure we're landing in formation on that kick, staying behind the person, and nice ending to tie that theme together. So some final thoughts on that PUM routine. If I was a judge and scoring it, I would really look at the synchronization and the crispness of the movement, and that's where I'd probably take some points away for this particular video. There were lots of moments where the arm motions were unclear, and so either slowing the music down or really just working to articulate those arm movements so that every single picture is very clear to the judges. Definitely a lot of creativity and musicality in the dance, but the lack of synchronization kind of detracts from that. Also looking at towards the end of the routine again, as our dancers get tired, they tend to lose that technique. So making sure that the passes are connected, the shoulders are down, we're not hunching forward on our leaps, things like that. All of those will cause you to lose points on the score sheet as the routine goes on. The communication and projection with this one is really fun. It has a great theme, but just making sure that, you know, during the extreme technical elements like the turn section or the jump section, that the dancers are not losing their faces on those particular things. Definitely dance better through transitions in this routine. There were a few slight spacing errors, probably not as many that I noticed as on the first video, but still probably would lose some points there as well. But, you know, definitely could gain some points back if some of those motions were cleaned up, some of those pictures were clearer. So I hope that this gave you a good perspective in terms of what judges are looking for. Again, every single judge is different, but I would just encourage you to educate yourself on the score sheet of the competition that you're going to, and, you know, really make sure that your routines are going to be hitting each of those categories and getting the maximum points possible. Thanks.